So to start off with our Black Christian Oratorical, Michael McIver.
Doing a speech from Oratorical. She led hundreds of thousands of slaves. She was born in 1820, died March 1913. She was born in Dorchester County, Maryland. Oratorical became famous as a conductor of the Underground Railroad during the turbulent 1850s. Born a slave, Maryland's eastern shore, she endured the harsh existence of a field hand, including brutal beatings. In 1849, she fled from slavery, leaving her husband and family in order to escape. Despite a bounty on her head, she returned to the South at least 19 times to lead her family and hundreds of other slaves to freedom via the Underground Railroad. Oratorical also served as a scout, spy, and nurse during the Civil War. So, do you know who Oratorial's common name is? It is Harriet Tubman. I'll be doing Dr. William Henry Cosby Jr. Dr. William Henry Cosby Jr. is a comedian, actor, author, television producer, educator, musician, and an activist. Mr. Bill Cosby was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on July 12, 1937. He once said, "The thing I remember most about being a kid was being poor." He remembers living in a house with no bathtub. He also remembers a Christmas without a Christmas tree. In 5th grade, Mr. Cosby performed his first comedy act for his teacher and classmates. After high school, Mr. Cosby joined the Navy and later attended college on an athletic scholarship. He left college to go on with his career as a comedian. In 1977, Mr. Cosby earned a doctoral degree in education. Mr. Cosby's first acting assignment was in the series I Spy 1965 through 1968, which made him the first black actor to star in a dramatic role on network television. He had also appeared in Electric Company, Sesame Street, and produced Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids. On the big screen, Mr. Cosby enjoyed box office success with the 1974 comedy Uptown Saturday Night, in 1975 Let's Do It Again, in 1977 a piece of the action. In 1984, The Cosby Show brought him more fame in the show. Mr. Cosby played a doctor who is surrounded by his very funny family. This show tried to let everyone know that we all have the same kinds of problems. Mr. Cosby uses his skills as an entertainer to teach children how to get along with others and ways of dealing with problems. People of all ages enjoy his humor, and millions buy his books.
We will now have Samuel Scarborough.
John McClendon, a true pioneer in the game of basketball, was born on April 15, 1915 in Hiawatha, Kansas. He was raised in Kansas City, Kansas, where he discovered the sport of basketball on a field trip in elementary school. In high school, John was an all-around athlete, but basketball was his favorite sport. Mr. McClendon was one of the first African Americans to attend the University of Kansas, where he learned the game of basketball from Dr. James Naismith, who invented the sport. Mr. McClendon was not allowed to play because the University of Kansas basketball team was segregated. John McClendon coached several high schools and colleges, such as Tennessee State, Hampton Institute, and North Carolina College for Negroes, now known as North Carolina Central University. He coached his teams to over 700 victories. While coaching at North Carolina College, he coached against Duke University in the secret game, the first college basketball game where blacks and whites played together. John was known as the father of the fast break and was the first African-American head coach in professional sports with the Cleveland Pipers. Mr. McClendon was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame in 1979 and 2007. He died on October 8, 1999, at the age of 84. John McClendon, a true pioneer in the game of basketball.
We will now have Bryce McDonald.
I'm talking about Grandma T1. I believe I can do anything if I try is one of his quotes. In 1889, he filed his first patent for a better steam boiler furnace. He was born in Columbus, Ohio, April 23rd, 1856. That was 156 years ago. He made a lot of good inventions for the railroad. His most noted invention let the train operator know how close one train was to the other train. This helped to cut down on train accidents. Over 60 inventions: steam boiler, furnace, telegraph century, telephone, photograph, electric railway, automatic air brake for the railroad safety.
Our next contestant would be Nicholas Williams.
Satchel Leroy Robert Page was the first black pitcher in the American League and the first black person to pitch in a World Series game. Satchel Paige was one of the best-known players in the baseball in black baseball. He became the first black player elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame for his career in the Negro Leagues in 1971. Satchel Paige earned his nickname Satchel as a young boy when he took a job carrying bags at a railroad station for passengers. By the time Satchel was 20, he could outthrow anyone small or grown. Did you know he was over 40 years old the entire time he played in the majors? Special achievements. First black pitcher in the major leagues. First black to pitch in the Major League World Series. Sporting news. Magazine Rookie of the Year. First Black Hall of Famer. Leroy Satchel Paige died on June 8th, 1982 in Kansas City, Missouri.
The next presenter will be Edward Moore.
I am presenting Asa Philip Randolph, who was born on April 15th, 1889. He was born in Crescent City, Florida. He is a human rights organizer who fought for civil justice through economic justice. In 1917, A. Philip Randolph lectured at New York's Rand School of Social Science. He organized the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters, the first black labor union, in 1925. During those days, it was very hard for black people to get good paying jobs. In 1937, the Pullman Company signed the first labor contract, giving its porters the power to change how they were treated. In 1941, A. Philip Randolph called for a march on Washington to protest the fact that blacks couldn't get good jobs in the military with government contractors. He threatened to hold the march for over 20 years. When in 1963, Randolph and Bayard Rustin finally held the March on Washington. This is the march where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave his famous I Have a Dream speech. In 1964, President Lyndon Johnson gave him the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is the highest civilian award given in the United States. Asa Philip Randolph died on May 16th, 1979, when he was 90 years old.
Our next presenter is Samanje Austin.
I'm performing Langston Hughes. Langston Hughes, born in 1902, died at the age of 65 in 1967. He was a poet, novelist, and a librettist. Langston Hughes wrote plays like A Raisin in the Sun. He wrote poems like Mother's the Sun for families like my mom and me. He also wrote poems like A Dream Deferred. I chose Langston Hughes because I like his poems. Next, A Dream Deferred by Langston Hughes. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Or does it fester like a sword and then run? Does it stick like rotten meat? Or does it crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load. Or does it explode?
Hey, good job from RJ. Good job.
We would have, next would be Carrington Williams.
Martin Luther King Jr., Booker T. Washington, and Harriet Tubman, these are all African Americans well known in their contributions to our nation are never overlooked, but there are so many other African Americans who made important contributions to society whose names are often overlooked to history books. February is a Black History Month, so let me tell you about some lesser known people in African American history and celebrate with me the legacy that they have left to America. Well, Brown was an African-American author, lecturer, and abolitionist. He is perhaps best known as the first African-American novelist and the first published African-American playwright. Many of his writings had abolitionist themes, and he did a lot to support the African American cause in the last part of the 19th century. Born into slavery, Brown died a great author, a free man, and a champion of human rights. Edward Bouchet didn't have many opportunities when he was a young boy. There were only 3 elementary schools in his town of New Haven that allowed Black students to attend, but that didn't keep him from being the 6th American of any race to get a PhD in physics and the first African American to earn a doctoral degree in Yale University. The degree should have guaranteed him a university job, but it didn't because of segregation. Mr. Bouchet taught for 26 years at this institution of colored youth, where he inspired generations of other young Black adults to achieve their dreams. Oscar Micheaux, he was a filmmaker in the 20th century. He was the first African American to produce a full-length film. Born in 1884 to a middle-class family, he worked as a railway porter, a coal miner, and a rancher before he became a writer of films. In 1917, he wrote a book called The Homesteader. And in 1919, he formed his own motion picture company. He turned the book into a film. After that, he made over 40 feature films that last for a 30-year career in writing, producing, and directing. He had been called the most prolific Black independent filmmaker in the cinema. There are only a few of the men that paved the way for today's African Americans. Let their stories inspire us to do that we did. They became a success even when it was very hard.
We will now hear from Jalen White.
Dizzy Gillespie was born in John in 1917 in South Carolina. Dizzy had always liked listening to music and dreamed of one day becoming a famous musician playing the trumpet himself. He joined a band in 1939 and started his own band in the 1950s. He created the musical sound called bebop and taught it to other people who wanted to learn. He was a great inspiration to people who never used drugs and was married to a man who lived until he died in 1993.
Our last speaker for the night is Christopher Williams.
I am Thurgood Marshall. I was born July 2nd, 1908 in Baltimore, Maryland. My real name is Thurgood, but I shortened it to Thurgood when I was in 2nd grade. I have seen a lot of segregation where I was growing up. My mother, Norma Marshall, was an elementary school teacher of a black school. My father, William Marshall, was a railroad porter at an all-white country club. Also, I have an older brother. Both of my parents taught me to appreciate the Constitution of the United States, the law, and education. Sometimes when I got into trouble, they would make me memorize parts of the United States Constitution. I know that they meant this as a punishment, but it has been really useful to me as a lawyer. My most famous case was in 1954, the Brown versus Board of Education, which ended segregation in public schools. In August 1967, I became the first African American to serve as an associate of the United States Supreme Court. I was a student, lawyer, civil rights activist, Supreme Court judge, husband, father, legend. I am Thurgood Marshall.
good, very good.
Okay, that was our last contestants. Let's give all our boys a hand. Calculate their numbers and let me know on the outcome. But while I have the chance, I just want to let you all know, next Saturday, our next event is going to be next Saturday at Northgate, which will be the Power Derby. Registration, I believe, is from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Tigers, first race, Tigers will be the first day to race at 12:30. Then I can't remember who's after that, but I think it's the Cub Scouts, then independent, so on. So be prepared, it is a long day activity. Then after that, our next event will be our Blue and Gold Banquet. Information will be forthcoming, hopefully next week, of details. If you haven't already, please let Melody know if you are planning to attend and how many will be attending, so we can make sure we have enough, food for everyone that's there. Brother Brooks, would you like to make an announcement or any comments at this time? If so, please come forward.
I guess so.
Again, while he's coming, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out here to support our boys. As you know, this is something that this is our 27th year doing this. Since I've been on board, I really enjoy this part because if not anything else, we are training our boys to be great speakers. We're not asking to be perfect at this time, but we are training them because as they get older and in school, they will need to learn to speak and be able to relay their messages. As Brother Brooks said, this was named after one of our great Oratorical, which was Martin Luther King Jr. Again, we have another one, which is our President Obama. So, young men, we have a legend to look up to, that we can do and will do all things, and there's nothing in our way that will stop us, okay?
Good evening, everybody. It is nice to be here again at this Black History Oratorical Contest. And I would like to also share that another reason why it is good for us, the boys and adults, to know Black history, because if you don't know where you've been, you surely don't know where to go in front. And I am piggyback. I used to could only piggyback off in Martin Luther King, but we have a black president and he is articulate. But the other reason why I shared that, I really would like to get, during my lifetime, if we could get every boy to participate. He really doesn't have to really learn it, but just to learn the talk, because if it never had not been a Martin Luther King, then you never would have had Barack Obama. And I am so happy that Third Group Marshall told it like it was, because if they never had been the Third Group Marshall, then they never would have been Martin Luther King. And if they never been Charles Houston Hamilton, because he was the one that done all the groundwork for Third Group Marshall. And he died 3 or 4 months earlier, just before that. And I am so glad that Third Group Marshall gave him credit and told him that Charles Hamilton was the one that done all the groundwork, and he died, and Third Group Marshall took his place and fought that case. And that is how come you black boys that sit down there now can be anything you want to be. But it really starts while you are 4, 5, and 6 years old. And that's why all these years that I have worked in Cub Scout, and from the day one, that ever since I've been here, service has been my main objective. Thank you very much.
Boys, always remember, we're Pack 137, we all what? That's right, we are all winners. Okay.
Louder, we all are what?
Winners! Very good, very good. For the Tigers group, first place, sorry, just a minute. Third place, Jalen White.
Good job.
Second place, Bryce McDonald. Little brother want to take a picture. First place winner of Tigers, Sir Marjay Austin.
Good job, Marjay. Participants, certificate of participation, and what more is recognized for participating with distinction in PAC 137 27 MLK Oratorical Contest. Good job, Edward.
We all winners.
Nicholas Williams.
John Nicholas.
Larry Wells Jr.
John Lowe.
Michael McConnell.
John Michael.
I apologize. Michael McKeever. Okay. Our third place winner will be Carrington Williams.
Good job. Second place, Samuel Scarborough.
Good job, Sam. There you go, buddy.
And our first place winner is Christopher Williams.
Good job, Chris.
Congratulations to our 27th Martin Luther King contested winners.
All right, let's stand up and give me a good clap.
I think I will see every last one of you on next year, right? Ooh. Again, friends, thank you all for coming out. Thank you all for working with the kids. And for those who are new, now you're familiar with what we're looking for with our young man, what we're trying to do with our young man. And more.
At least, I want you to get me the name of every participant, every boy. I need a name.